So let's get started today. I've got a lot of topics I want to cover. I'm going to do my best. For those of you listening on Apple Podcasts, I want to make sure, or Spotify or things like that, I want to make sure that yeah, I explain. I know because you can't see sometimes what I'm doing here on the video. So I'm going to do my best to explain it. Landon Kunkel, I see you, buddy. Congrats on the golf this past weekend. Good job. So for those of you listening on Apple Podcasts, I'm going to do my best to make sense. So for those of you guys watching on video, I got some good stuff today. I've got 3 big topics to cover. Hopefully we can do a good job on them. The first one I want to talk about, though, the first topic today was about was a clip that I saw. I'm going to do my best to pull up Premiere Pro. So sorry for those of you guys on Instagram, you won't be able to see this. If you head on over to my YouTube channel, you can see that on my Facebook page. You can see that as well. But I'm going to do my best here. So pull up this clip that just came across that I saw on Instagram today. So it looks a little weird, wonky on my screen. So Colin Lambert, I see you, buddy. Welcome. So this clip was so I just want to. This is a good idea that's turning into a bad trend. Okay. And so the idea is where a goalie will basically throw the ball long, and then it will land in front of their midfielders. So let me just fast forward this clip here. All right. So in this particular play, ball starts at X. Okay. Ball starts at X. Goalie makes a pretty good rotation, gets in position. Goalie starts out, in my opinion, though, this doesn't make any sense to me, and the angle on this video is a little off, but hopefully you guys understand this. So a goalie's job is not to defend the back of the field, right? So I see goalies standing outside of the post like they're trying to block passes in both the men's and the women's game. It's really prevalent in the women's game, not as much of the boys, but definitely in the girls. And it's just bad play, in my opinion. You can't argue with me. And I've gone through all the arguments. If you've got something new, that it makes sense for a goalie to try to cut passes off, and in this case, the goalie is standing outside the post, right? Like to do that. That may work at the lower levels of lacrosse. It may work in some towns here or there, where the offensive players aren't that savvy. But as your goalie gets better and better and plays against tougher competition, it is going to tear them apart, right? And so I don't want to do that. I don't want anybody doing that. So this pass comes from X, goes top center, roughly. Guy takes a rip, gets wiped out. That's what's great about this. Guy gets absolutely wiped out by the midi. Love that. Goalie makes the save. And now what I love about this is that you can teach your defense, okay, boys and girls, men and women. All right, you can teach your defense. You can train them to react like seals, like dogs, like well-trained dogs. With all due respect, nobody get offended on that one, okay? No. But the idea is that if I am a defensive player, there is a moment where the offensive team, the offensive team is usually looking at the shooter, right? And they know the shot's coming and they see the shot. They may have been trying to get the ball to a certain player, and then that shot gets taken, and what's everybody hoping for? They're hoping for a goal, right? And when it doesn't go in, there's a moment of reflection by the offense. And they're either bummed out that it didn't go in, or they, maybe it went wide or whatever. But when the shot is taken on a goalie, I just want to explain this real quick. This is not the topic I wanted to cover, but I'll go over it real quick. There's a moment where the defense, if the goalie yells clear, and my defense is well trained, no matter what has just happened, and they trust me as a goalie, when I yell clear, they are taking off in their clear mode. The offense in that same amount of time is looking at the goalie going, oh, wow, that was nice. And because here's what happens. When a shot is taken, it can either A, go in, right? So plays dead. Second, it goes wide, right? Plays dead. Third, it hits the post and bounces somewhere. Okay, so then the offense, they're going to deal with that, or the goalie saves it. So there's like 4 things that can happen there, right? So that the offense is watching the goalie. Now, if the goalie gets the ball, especially if they get it clean, which is what happens in this particular play, if they get it clean, right? What's great here is that this midi is doing this short stick. It comes from side of the screen here. Right when this shot is taken, he is already taking off because he realizes either this ball is going in the net or it's going wide, or my goalie's going to save it, and he's taken off. So this is awesome. This is great play. So coaches, I want you to teach your D to listen to your goalie. And if your D happens to be looking at the shot, like the second the shot's like, just take off, just go, because now we have a chance for a fast break. All right. So what happens here is this midi is breaking up fields, and the goalie tosses the ball, but tosses it long. Right, tosses it long, and the midi can run onto it. So that's an okay play, right? It's an okay play. However, it is also a dangerous play. Now, what I want to see happen is I want to see a goalie hit their teammate, like their offensive player now, and that could be a defenseman, it could be a long pole, whatever. But I want to see that goalie hit his teammate in the stick perfectly so that player can take off. Here's what happens, right? There's a concept in football, right, with quarterbacks. It's certain plays. What the quarterback is trying to do is they're trying to get the ball into their receiver's hand quickly so that they can do something with it. Quote unquote, they can do something. So, Andy Andy Levis has got a quick question. Do you think that was deliberate and not just an overthrow? I'm going to give the goalie the credit here and say that I think it was deliberate, but I want to talk about why the overthrow is not always the best play. Okay, so that's a great question, Andy. So I'll get to that. All right. So the idea in football, this idea is like I want to get the ball into my teammate, into my receiver's hands quickly, so that they can then do something with it. And in certain plays, the sooner we do that, now my teammate has a chance to make something happen. Now, in this particular play, this offensive player is wide open. But earlier this year, we saw a play by the Denver goalie, and I think it was Denver versus Loyola. I was trying to find the clip and I couldn't find it, but the Denver goalie led their defenseman, their long pole. Ball dropped at midfield. Defender ran onto it. And what happened in this play, everybody thought, oh, it's a great play by the goalie. No. The Loyola defense should have lit up this defender, like lit him up, like sent him to the hospital, lit him up. But instead of doing that, the Loyola defender that ran up on it made a stupid swipe for the defenseman's stick. Defender picks up the loose ball, goes in on a fast break, scores. And everybody's like, yeah, wasn't that a great play by the goalie? And I'm like, no, it wasn't a great play by the goalie because he almost got his defenseman killed. And that happened to me in a summer league game when I was like in high school playing with senior men. I tossed a ball to a defenseman and I hit the defenseman in the stick, but I was unaware of what was going on beyond the defenseman. And there was a player coming out of the box that I didn't see. And he hit our defender, and our defender broke his leg. All right. So I wasn't very happy about that. And so I always remember that. So there is an opportunity sometimes to make a play. And earlier this year, I worked with one of the top high school goalies in the country. And in his recruiting tape, he put in a couple plays like this where he led the defender. Now, so as a coach, what would I rather have? Would I rather have a goalie who can hit the teammate with a perfect pass and get him on the loose, or a player who's going to make this play? If a coach is like super on top of it, and not all coaches are, right? If a coach is on top of it, they might go, hey, that's a good play, I like it. But I start putting in other scenarios here, because when I see a young goalie start to do this a lot, I realize that they're looking in a very small area of the field, and they were looking at they're looking at their teammate who's open. They may have scoped out some distance, okay, between their teammate and the midfield stripe. But if I'm an opposing team coach and I see this, I'm looking for opportunities. Like if I've got a late substitution, I'm looking to release my long pole from the other side of midfield to light this kid up. All right. So while this is a, it looks like a good little play and the midi runs out. Like I love the midi break in and I love but this goalie could have hit this guy in the stick. Right. And really, I believe learning how to do that is a much better skill than just this kind of soft toss into open space, because the potential down the road is that the goalie misses the habits they need to learn to really make this play tick. Like I teach all my goalies, I want you to hit your breaking teammate in the stick. Right. That's what should happen. Now you may have to do that with a couple of different passes. There's a frozen rope. There's a big arc. There's a kind of a medium arc. There's all sorts of plays here. But the idea is like, I want to see the right thing happen. And so I've seen this a lot this year where goalies are throwing this pass and it's checking up in the turf in front of the player. I've seen it work a couple times. I've seen it not work a couple times. And I've also seen some dangerous plays, in particular that Denver play. Right, that Denver play earlier this year against Loyola. Right, so we just want to make sure that this is an opportunity. This goalie has every reason to just put this right in his teammate's stick. There's no reason not to. Right, so to check it up here is not really the correct play in my book. Does it work? Yes, it works. Is it an educational piece for this goalie for the future? I don't know this goalie, but this is. I just want to make sure we're teaching the right stuff. Okay. So goalies have gotten a little lazy on this play, and that's what I want to point out here. So any questions on that? Mike Duggan, Prosper, Texas, no leading your target. So I covered that, Mike, you got that. So you can lead your target. However, when it's appropriate in this particular play, I think we can do better. And for the reasons what I like I said, I worry about getting a player injured, right? One of our breaking players injured. Andy, I covered that. Do you think it was deliberate or not just overthrow? I think in this case it was deliberate, right? I'm not saying it was an overthrow in this particular case, but it's a deliberate overthrow. But I think we can, I want to make sure my goalies are hitting that player. Okay. Bob Nunn writes, I would only advise to lead restraining to before midfield or buddy pass. Bob Nunn, English. I would only advise to lead restraining line to before midfield line, or it's a buddy pass. Yeah, that's the point I'm trying to make here. Okay. So that's something that we need to make sure that our goalies understand. Okay. And because we all know, young players, like high school players, they fall into a play and they like a thing, right? They like a play and they start to go to that play a lot, right? It's no different than a shooter trying to light up, a goalie off stick high, right? And they like that shot, the high, hard one, right? But they never get any variation. I want my goalies to have like a lot of arrows in the quiver so that they know what they're doing. Okay. And that's really, really important. So keep that in mind as you work with your goalies. If you teach them this play, there's a time and there's a time for everything. And so let's make sure we're just making that we help our goalies develop the most versatile arsenal that they can develop. All right. That's really, really important. All right, guys, thanks for watching and thanks for listening wherever you are. Do me a favor, hit the like button if you like this and be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. When you're ready, head on over to lacrossegoalieuniversity.com/coaching so I can work with you and your goalie. And while you're at it, check out athletespecific.com to learn more about mental performance and high performance. You may not know this, but I work with athletes in a variety of sports. Lacrosse is my love, but man, I love athletes and the families who support them. So head on over to athletespecific.com, check it out. I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.